не нанесли бомбовий удар.
ყოველთვის ვიცოდი, რომ შენ იყავი ჩემო მოსწავლე და გადამრჩენელი.
Dimmi ragazzo solo dove vai, perché tanto dolore hai perduto senza dubbio un grande amore.
The Jakarta Post, more than 39 years of presence with independent journalists. With comprehensive from political and business conversation in all platform. And a global discussion that you can follow from the top experts. Download the mobile app on Google Play Store and App Store. Or you can access it at thejakartapost.com. Join and subscribe now.
A proposito, cercavo proprio a lei.
Okay. Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the first day of Road to Europe on Screen 2024, online workshop How to Pitch a Film Idea. This workshop is organized by Europe on Screen 2024 in collaboration with the EU as a part of Road to Europe on Screen 2024. The workshop will be conducted in English. If you have any question for Alessandra, please ask them during the design time. You can ask in Indonesian as we will translate your question into English to you. Also, don't forget that Europe on Screen 2024 will take place from June 7 until 16, 2024, where you can enjoy and watch our offline festival screening at various locations including Jakarta, Bandung, Denpasar, Malang, Medan, Sidoarjo, Surabaya, and Yogyakarta. For more detailed information, please visit our official website. This workshop will be led by Alessandra Pastore, an Italian professional with 20 years of experience in the international audiovisual industry. She specializes in production, vocational training programs, and consultant service. Alessandra is the market manager at When East Midwest, coordinate the Europe-Asia IF initiative State that Band and Focus Asia, and is a part of the programming team for the SIC Venice International Film Critic Week. She is a member of the European Film Academy. Before we start, let's welcome the co-director of the Europe on Screen 2024 Festival, Menina Putri Wismutri and Naufal Yasid, to give some remarks. Putri and Naufal, please turn on your camera and mic.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning to you, Alessandra, for joining us today, this morning in Italy, and this is afternoon in Jakarta for our Road to Europe on Screen 2024 online workshop, How to Pitch Your Film Ideas. And for everyone here, I hope that you can take a lot of this opportunity to get a lot of knowledge about how to pitch your films, or also to apply it in your daily life on how to pitch your and to express your opinion or anything in life. This is something that actually can also be applicable to all of us. And I would also like to thank you to the EU and then the EU consortium for bringing Alessandra via Miss Pastore via online here. Thank you so much for being able to host and to teach and to share your knowledge with us here at the Europe on Screen. And I hope that I can see all of you later on in the festival from the 7th until the 16th of June in Jakarta and also in other cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Alessandra. Thank you for your time today and tomorrow. Selamat sore, teman-teman di sini. I'll try to make it quick in both English and Indonesian. So the idea of doing this pitching workshop is to make everyone understood that the part of the filmmaking usually begins with a pitch. So it's very important, like my colleague said, to learn how to pitch the ideas, not just film ideas, but also to get film crews, to get investors, to get everyone to support your film. You need to be able to pitch. Buat teman-teman semua di sini yang mungkin selama ini selalu mengira bahwa pembuatan film itu hanya sebatas pembuatan film saja, mungkin tidak sadar kalau pembuatan film itu dimulai dengan pitching cerita, pitching konsep, pitching kepada calon kru, calon investor. So I hope this workshop will be very useful. Yeah, so thank you everyone.
Thanks a lot, Putri. Thanks a lot, Noval. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be back here online, and congratulations for your great event. I've been following, the program. It's absolutely amazing. So I also invite all the audience to keep following you, because these events are actually the very first access to the industry. So good afternoon to you and good morning to me, because I'm here in Italy. It's 10 a.m. in the morning, so I'm very happy to be here today. And what I will try to do in today's session is to basically share my experience, because at the end of the day, this is what the industry, the audiovisual industry is about, to cooperate at every level, in every different steps of the process that you would like to keep working on in your project. I have prepared some slides that hopefully will help you to follow along a long discussion. We will have a Q&A session at the end, but nevertheless, if you really feel that any words that I'm saying not fits in your normal language, or you think has a different meaning for you, or you feel it's a new word and I'm not capable to explain it, feel absolutely free to stop me, to raise your hand, and I think I will stop and I will try to answer. Before that, I think we need to do a picture together. So I will leave again the floor to the organizer before starting the lecture.
Okay, thank you, Putri and Naval and Alessandra. Now I would like to invite our festival co-director, Naval and Putri, our mentor for this workshop, Alessandra, for a photo session. Give your pose and smile, and please look at the camera. I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, everyone. Now, let's get started with the workshop. Alessandra, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Clara. Thanks again. I will start sharing my screen. So before starting, I will add a few, I will give you a few information about me. Actually, Clara was clear enough in giving you my main hats. I'm basically a consultant, and I mostly work in markets, which are something totally different from festivals, because markets are those events that actually run between 2 or 3 days in the most cases, where producer, artistic team, directors, script writers can meet other actors of the industry, meaning professionals, a sales agent, distributors, or also festival programmers. So in the last 10 years, I've been actually working at Venice meets West. That is a market, it's a co-production market that takes place in Italy, that also welcome a project from all over Europe and beyond. So you are basically all absolutely welcome to apply if you are looking for a partner with Italy and with Europe. In the last years, I've also been coordinating a training program, because I really feel that the industry should run at the same time of the training. We always need to be updated, and we actually all need to keep learning, because the audiovisual industry is it's growing very fast and actually changes very fast. So we all need to be updated. Ties That Bind is a training led by EAVE program, and we actually welcome producers with a feature films project between Europe and Asia. So the ideal is that the ideal situation, we actually select producers with the project, 5 from Europe and 5 from Asia, that are planning to co-produce their project among the two areas. This is a very interesting program, because also gives full access to both continents landscape. So it's a very good way to develop your project, develop your idea, and grow your market and your network within the Asian countries, but also with Europe. Since last year, I joined Venice Film Festival as part of programming team. I'm actually curating one session, which is called Settimana della Critica, so Venice Critics Week, where we always and only select debut directors' film. So basically, all my career is heavily oriented to talent. So that's what I really like. That's what I actually try to keep doing. Basically, to try to explore and find new voices and new opportunity for emerging professionals to grow. Let's officially start this session. I know that you all are here interested in developing your short film. My first advice is keep in mind that it doesn't matter if you are working on a tiny, small short film or a short film which is already co-produced or a long feature film. Your approach and your attitude toward the project that you are developing should be the same. Try to be professional every time that you are working on the audiovisual project, because I know that you all, and we all aim to be professionals, we all hope to have this as a job. And to do so, we are the first people who really need to figure out and to understand that actually this is an industry. So we are within an industry and we have to act as a professionals. This industry, it's actually pretty complex because there are actually several elements that intervene when we are talking about a production of a project. Production of a project actually means the development of creative elements. So each film project, again, doesn't matter if a short film or long feature, has several elements. Creative elements that we all are a little bit more familiar with, legal elements, legal steps that we all need to do to start talking about our film when it is still in development. Financial issues, because every time that we deal with the project, in any case, we have to face the fact that we need some money to make our project better, to keep working on our film. Marketing and distribution. These elements is actually very important, and it's very fundamental to start thinking to these elements already when you are at the very beginning. We will try to deepen this later, but basically the starting point is that in the moment in which you have an idea, also for your short film, you really need to start thinking to an audience, because no matter what, the audiovisual industry is a little bit too expensive to be a hobby as an industry. So my suggestion is that you always have to keep in mind that your project should be seen by an audience. Don't forget this since the very beginning. But also, when you are developing a project, you also have some geopolitical elements that actually are part of the discussion. Because most of the time you actually will need to work on some dynamics that could be internal to your country or external, in the sense that you might be willing to develop your story in co-production with some other countries. So in any case, you really need to keep an eye on what is going on in the rest of Asia or in the rest of the world, or even in Europe, to understand if your story could actually work in a different context. So just to give you a very brief overview of all the elements that need to be discussed and thought when you are working on a visual project, keep in mind that these are the 5 main elements that you have it. This is for each film project. What about your project? For your project, you need to have 3 main elements in your mind. You need to know yourself as a professional, you need to know your story, and you actually need to know your audience. My basic advice is, whenever you start approaching a potential partner, which could also be a creative partners. For instance, let's say that you are a director, you would like to attract a script writer or a script doctor. You actually keep in mind that you need to know these 3 elements: yourself, your story, and your audience. Let's go a little bit deeper in these 3 elements. First of all, your profile. So know yourself actually means to be capable to build your strategy according to who you are, okay? So never forget that in the moment in which you are exposing your project, you are somehow selling yourself for that project, but actually also for the future project that you are planning to develop. So make sure to be consistent with your level of experience. It means that if you have in your portfolio previous short films or clips as a director or as a script writer, it would probably feel strange to any kind of professional audience to know that you are developing now, for instance, a TV series, because it's somehow unbalanced, respect to that. So make sure to be consistent with your professionality in this specific moment or in that specific moment of your career. Of course, you aim to grow. Of course, you aim to do bigger project, better project. But at the end of the day, you really need to be trustable toward the other people that you are pitching your project. So make sure to be at the consistent level of your experience and expertise. Try to identify your personal artistic and creative needs. Sometimes might feel strange if you tell people that you are director, scriptwriter, DOP, producers, and editor of your film, in the sense that we all know that when we are at the beginning, we tend to cover different positions, and it's somehow good because we actually experience different hats. But in the moment in which you would like to become a professional, it would be good if you actually could choose your precise position. What would you like to do when in the first place for your project? And actually, what are you lacking of? What are you not good at? And this is a very important part because this helps your professional audience to understand which are your needs. So if you are a director, you probably would need an ideally more experienced script writer or script doctor. So your artistic and creative needs are actually very important for the person who are listening to you, because that actually could really drive their choice to be on board with you and to help you. So you should be the very first one to identify what are you lacking, what do you need, which kind of help you need from other professionals. And of course, your personal strategy, in the sense, what would you like to achieve? What is your final goal or your medium-term goal? Would you like to keep doing the director? Would you also like to explore yourself, your career as a scriptwriter, or you would like to stay within different kind of hats within the crew? This is, feel free to have a strategy. It's important. You would like to direct now your film, but your ideal situation will actually be to be only the script writers, or what happens very often is that filmmakers also need to produce his or her film, but at the end of the day, you only would be the director of the film. So have a strategy, or at least try to identify a strategy that could fit your personal goals. Elements of your project. So after you have analyzed yourself, you really need to know which are the elements of your project. So the genre of films, of short film that you would like to develop. Be very careful. My suggestion is avoid tricky situation. We all know that it's very difficult somehow to lock your project in a specific genre. But what you need to keep in mind when you are presenting, when you are pitching your project, is that you have a very short amount of time and you actually need to give people some basic information that you will have time to develop later. So the main goal and the main point is try to create some schemes that are easy to navigate for the people who are listening to you and that could raise some questions later. So go for the main genre of your film, and you will have time later to explain that you might cross different genres, or this is a drama with some comic elements or comedy elements and with some Western moods and so on. Go with one genre, identify your main genre, and you will have later time to develop the other elements. Also, your project might have a very specific artistic and creative needs. Not only for your career, but according to your career, for your project, which are the needs? What are you looking for? You have written a script, for instance, that it's not convincing or not strong enough. How would you manage and how would you be capable to develop that script? Who would be the right person that can join the team to make your short film even stronger? In terms of production, do you have a strategy? Do you have any door to knock for some money or for a distribution opportunities? Do you have the goal to screen your film in some festivals? Or ideally to co-produce your film? You feel that this film could be actually a very natural, easy co-production with another country because some characters are traveling in other countries, or because you're aiming to have on board one team members that has a different nationality. This is part of the strategy. This is something that you really need to keep in mind before structuring your pitch. And the phase of production, meaning at which point are you now with your project? Is it in early development? Do you only have an idea and you are trying to figure out what are the next step? Because you might need some help to develop the treatment of the script, or the script is already done and you need some help and you are in the research of location or simply money or potential partner. So you really need to be the very first person to identify which is the precise phase of production of your film. Where is your status? Which is your status at this specific moment? So the element of your profile and yourself, element of your project, and never forget that within your strategy to pitch your project, you need to keep an eye on who is the audience. Be careful, because when I'm talking about the audience, I will not refer anymore to the general audience. I'm not talking about the people who will ideally go to watch your film. I'm actually here thinking to those professionals who will listen your pitch and ideally decide to jump on board. So when you read or listen from me the word audience, I'm from now on actually referring only to professionals' audience. To know the people that are actually listening to you, it's very important to structure your pitch in the best way possible. So try always to know and to understand who is listening your pitching. Who are these people? Only producer, or you are talking to an audience of filmmakers and scriptwriters? Are there some programmers? Because every time that you have different professionalities, they actually have different needs. Still, you need to define and to shape your presentation in a way that they all can get something out of it, and they all can answer some question and can have some more question to ask you. Make sure to be informed about the context in which you are pitching your project. Is this a market? Is this a public pitch? Or is just a conversation that you're having with, for instance, with the producers? Also, when you talk about your project with any kind of person, this is already a pitch. But of course, you will pitch your story in a totally different way according to the person that you have in front of you. So be aware of the context, try to prepare your presentation in the way that could fit more or less everybody's needs or could be consistent with the context. The dimension is very connected to the context and also connection to the duration, because if you are presenting your project in a public pitch, it's a very different situation than if you are pitching your project in a group of 5, 10 producers. If you are in a market, it has a totally different dimension that if you are pitching your project in a festival or in a private contest. So the dimension of the event will also help you to shape your presentation in the best way possible, and also to prepare yourself for the right duration of your pitch. Normally, if you attend a market or a public event, the time that you have an international accepted level is between 5 and 7 minutes. That's the general average of a pitch presentation. You have between 5 and 7 minutes, most of the time, including visuals material that you might have. this is because that's actually the attention that you will have from participants, that from the audience. Also because you will not be the only one to pitch your project. You will be part of a group of people that will pitch their own short film. So that's to make sure this length helps you to make sure that the audience will keep the attention. The duration of your presentation would be much different if you are in a one-to-one meeting. So if you are in a table with one or two people in front of you, ideally from the same production company or festival who wants to know more about it. In a normal market situation, you might actually have up to 20 minutes to have your individual meetings, which will probably start with a short pitch. But in this case, you really need to be able to keep the conversation and the presentation of your project for 20 minutes, which will be at the beginning, the presentation, so the pitch of your film. But after that, it will be a kind of Q&A ping pong session where you can really go deeper to your story and to your project. The main thing that you really need to keep in mind is that whenever you pitch in every contest your project, you have the project and you have your story. Those are two very connected elements, but you need to keep in mind that when you do a pitch, the pitch is on the project, not only on the story. When you present your film, when you present your story, there are actually some risks. It's good to know them in advance. My suggestion, I decided to give you some elements of the risky situation just to make you aware and to help you to shape your presentation and your pitch in the best way possible. First of all, the timing. According to different strategy that you have, to different contests and to different dimension that we have mentioned before, you really need to understand when is the right time to present your story worldwide. Every time that you pitch, every time that you present your story in a market, this is always a kind of protect environment. But you actually need to make sure to have the right elements to start the pitch of your story, okay? If you have more questions than answers, not in general, but really specifically related to that moment of your project, it might be too early to pitch your project. If you are not convinced on the synopsis that you have written, or if you don't feel comfortable with the main storyline and the main characters, if you really still need to work on your idea to understand if this is a short film or a long feature films, that's probably too early to expose your project. Because again, every time that you talk about your project, you're somehow selling yourself as a professional. This also means that you will decide to apply or not apply to a pitching forum or a pitching session, also according to the time of your project. Do you feel comfortable enough to expose your project and try to elaborate on that? On the other hand, sometimes might be simply too late to pitch your project because your story is already locked and you basically feel there is no more space to add new elements, new characters, because every time that you plan to involve a partner on board, you are actually giving them something. You are opening the doors of your project to some changes that might be creative changes, that might be production changes, location changes. So every time that you are looking for a partner, you actually have to know that the potential partner needs some space, basically, to enter and to understand how to help you to develop further your project. So if you have everything on board, if you have enough money to do your film, if you have developed the story quite enough to do not leave any space to potential new actor, new crew member, or new artistic elements, if you have your location and everything is already settled, probably it doesn't really fit to pitch your project, because people that are listening will not really know where to insert themselves and how to help you. Okay, so probably in this case, if you are, for instance, only looking for a potential premiere in some festivals, you might actually simply want to have some meetings or some pitch with the programmers that don't really need to go too deeper into the story, because festival programmers need, at the end of the day, to see your material. So you kind of reshape your pitch. You change your presentation according to your strategy and your status. Sometimes a second risk could be the overexposure. My suggestion is choose carefully where to present and where to pitch your project. Also, according to the timing of the year, okay? If professionals, some producers, some distributors, some funding representative, if actually they see your project pitched in April in one international contest, in late May or early June, again in another contest, and again late July or early August, this is overexposed, because this is basically, they keep hearing the same project with ideally no big news. And sometimes you feel that you don't have a strategy. I mean, the feeling that professionals might have is, okay, you keep saying in different locations the same stories because you don't really know where to go. You don't really know which audience, what are you looking for. So people keep listening the same story. Or on the other hand, if after a lot of months, you pitch again your story, your pitch in a different contest, but with the same elements, so you have done no step further into your project, people might feel that after 1 year of development, this project is still at the same level. So probably you are not following the right production of creative strategy. So choose carefully where you would like to expose to pitch your project. Make sure to choose a totally different contest to pitch again your project. And most important, make sure to have some updates in terms of partners on board, in terms of storyline. So make sure that every time that you officially pitch your story, you have new elements to add. The third risk that I'd like to highlight is to have an unbalanced presentation. This happens when your story is, for instance, fully developed from the creative point of view with no production elements on board. So you have already a full development treatment, final draft of script, but you have no budget, no producer attached, and no production elements that could give the professional audience the guarantee that you will produce actually this film. In this case, the pitch will feel unbalanced in the sense that the audience, the professional audience, the professional who are listening your pitch will actually expect a kind of balancement between creative elements and production elements. So be very careful when you pitch your project to do not run too much on your story and leave totally back your production part, because this will again make the full presentation of your project feel totally unbalanced. In case you are in that situation, because you are filmmakers, because you are scriptwriter and you need the production part, in this case, you need to build your pitch, making sure that this is kind of not totally visible, and you still leave some space for potential changes than one producer or more producers that would like to come on board can still do into your own project and your story. I hope this makes sense for you. I hope I'm trying to build, the concept of a pitch, starting from the elements which are in the kitchen of a pitch. When you do the presentation, you actually need to keep in mind a series of elements. So what I'm trying to do is really to build your knowledge around the concept of a pitch of a presentation. according to the risks and to make sure to evaluate when is the right moment, where is the right place, I would like to tackle another element. So when is the right time to pitch? You might have, well, I shared here with you a kind of ideal situation. Of course, it always never happens that we are in such a lovely, great situation. But it's important for you to keep in mind that the very first pitch could be done when you really have the first idea, okay? There is still space and way to pitch your project when you are still at the very beginning. It's called early development, early stage of development, okay? In this case, my suggestion is to keep it as a domestic pitch, meaning in one event, one national event, because in this way, you can actually have the very first step of reaction from your own professionals and your own audience. So if you are at the very beginning of your project, my suggestion is, if you feel it's worth to officially pitch your project, try a domestic market, try a national market where you have around you some people who could really very easily connect with your story and with your project. Or you can keep this pitch very international, but very informal. So you will probably, my suggestion is, if you are in early stage of development, don't try yet an international market to pitch your project, but actually go to an international market out of competition somehow. So not applying for a pitch, official pitch, or in case you are not selected, go anyway and talk to international professionals on a more informal level. Try to meet them, try to explain them your story and your project, and try to see their feedback and their reaction. The right moment to actually pitch officially and in an international contest your short film idea is when you have first confirmation in place. That could really be a game changer. And this could be money, but also talents, okay? In the sense that, of course, the ideal situation would be to go to pitch your project, say, I have a short amount of development money already on board. Because we will see that shortly later, basically in a market, nobody wants to be the very first one to say yes. They actually need to see that in your own country, in your own home or strategy, someone is already on board. So if you have a first confirmation in place in terms of a small amount of money, that could be the right moment to officially pitch your project. On the other hand, it could be very good to start talking on international level or to pitch your project when you have some talents on board. Let's say that you have a good name of an actor confirmed, or you have a very good scriptwriter or a very good and maybe famous DOP and so on. So when you have some talents that are sellable, basically, that could be easy for you to attract. Could help you to attract more professionals. In this case, you can feel that this is a very good element that you can expose into your pitch, and it's the right moment to pitch internationally or officially your project. On the other hand, what you really, again, need to make sure is that you need to find the right box to present your project. You really need to find the right space in terms of location, in terms of audience that you have in front of you, and also in terms of dates of the year. So you really need to make sure that the right time to pitch your project is where the place is consistent with your strategy, with what you are looking for, and also with the people who have in front of you. To give you a very easy and even a little bit silly example is if you are still waiting and looking for some creative inputs, if you are looking to have on board some actors or script writers, probably it's not the case to go to a heavily business market, because in this case, to pitch a project, because in a business market where there are investors, what they might want to know is probably your financing plan, the return of investment, and so on. So some more business elements that you are not capable to share. So in this sense, that's not the right time and place to pitch. So check the compatibility of your project and the consistency of your project with the calendar, in the sense with the time of the year. Is this before a big event? Is this before the shooting of your film? So according to which stage are you, to the guest list, meaning try to know the audience that will listen the pitch, to make sure to define, to shape your presentation in the best way possible. And in the location, is this a national market, it's a national pitch, or an international pitch? What material shall you prepare for the pitch? My suggestion here is to actually keep it in two different levels. Analyze what you need to prepare before the pitch and make sure to have the right information after the pitch. This is, and we start entering here into the structure itself of the pitch. The point is that when you pitch, you actually have between 5 and 7 minutes, a rough time, to present your story and your project. Again, it's not that you will need to dedicate, you will not have 7 minutes to talk about your story and that's it. In these 7 minutes, you actually need to give the universe of your project, to include different and several elements. But you cannot include everything. So the aim of a pitch is actually to convince people to ask for a meeting. Your goal for the presentation of the pitch is not to say everything about your story and your project. It's actually to share the main information in a very consistent and catchy way, so that people in front of you could say, oh, that's very interesting, I want to know more. That's what you need to aim for. But you really need to be prepared, because in the moment in which they said, oh, wow, I would like to know more, in this case, you need to make sure to can deliver a series of other information that you have touched into your presentation, but now you need to develop further in an individual consultation, individual meetings, or to continue the conversation. So my suggestion is, before the pitch, make sure to have a very clear logline in case you are in this context where you need to use one sentence to talk about your project. So for those of you who are not familiar with the concept, the logline is the core of your story in a nutshell, 1 or 2 sentence maximum. It's the storyline of your film in 1 or 2 sentences. That's it. So that could be a very power pitch, it's called. So a very strong beginning of your presentation, giving them the idea, the main concept, the main core of your story. Make sure to have a well-prepared short synopsis, which is a longer version, of course, of the logline with more elements, but still concise enough and short enough to be catchy, complete, but not too detailed. From the next slide, I have prepared some advices on how to write a synopsis, and to write and to prepare, of course, a synopsis for a pitch, and even the question that you should ask yourself to make sure that the synopsis somehow works on an international context, okay? So, but make sure to be prepared with a short synopsis of your film. Notes of intent. Actually, this is that might be a tricky element, because every time that you pitch your story, you need somehow to share something about you. Because what is the most important thing of a pitch? The story, yes, of course, but actually, even more than the story, you are the most interesting thing of the pitch. Because if I like the idea of the story, I know that I can ask you to read the treatment, to read the script. But what I will not have another chance is actually to have the first impression on you, okay? And we will discuss a little bit later about it, how important it is to be yourself when you pitch your project. Because in any case, you are exposing what you are, not as an actor, but as a professional, okay? You have some connection with this project, with the project that you are pitching. No matter if you are the director or the producer or the scriptwriter, you have some kind of connection. The note of intent is a few short sentences that actually show to the audience why you would like to do this film. Okay, why you are the right person to tell this story as a director, as a scriptwriter, or even as a producer, why you would like to produce this film. And this is something that it's very important to share during a pitch, because sometimes might be very important to know that what you are planning to show on screen, it's actually your story. This is a very precious element because it comes from your past, or you have a emotional link with this story. You had a personal attachment to this kind of location or characters and so on. So find the link that is a bridge between you as a professional and the story. It's very important. These are normally called notes of intent. When it comes to a pitch, according to the people who are presenting and pitching their project, you might have different notes of intent. If a director is pitching with the producers, basically the director will say a few words about his or her connection with the story, with the project, and the same will be ideally requested to do to the producer. That will be very important also for the producers to share during the pitch the connection that they have with the story, with this kind of project, and with the creative team, with the directors. So make sure to know and to be prepared when you structure your pitch on your personal motivation, basically, to this story, no matter which is your position. And the USP. USP is unique selling points. You actually need, guys, to elaborate on which are the most innovative elements of your story and your project. Actually, what makes every film, every short film unique is your personal approach to this film. Because we might have one topic. If we are 10 directors, we will have 10 different films on the same topics. What makes this film unique? It's actually your personal view, your personal touch, the way in which you, with your background, human and emotional and professional background, will tackle this story. You need to identify these unique selling points. That's what you really need to do. Or if you have a very new story to share, if you are tackling or discovering, unveiling a story that nobody is aware of. So try to identify which are the elements that are very important, that are unique, and to share it with the audience of your pitch. That's what you actually need to do. Okay, when you read unique USP, it's unique selling points, and that's actually what you really need to share with the audience of your pitch, because again, this ideally will be a hook for the professionals there to say, I like you, I like this story, let's sit and let's talk deeper about this project, okay? And that's what will ideally happen. You pitch your story with this element. After the pitch, you will have a little bit more time to go deeper. At that point, you actually need to understand and to elaborate on what you have said. So make sure to have, again, a strong synopsis, because if you had the chance to have a very short pitch and you could only share the logline, you might have a little bit more time to go deeper into the synopsis, so to develop your story in your individual consultation. So make sure to have it prepared. Of course, it's time to go deeper to some profiles, the director experience, or even non-experience. No worries, don't feel the fact that you are merging in case you are doing your very first short film has a weakness. It's not. We all have been there. We all have been at the very starting point. to know it. It's the most important thing, actually, to make the audience aware, the person who is talking to you aware of what to expect. If I have in front of me an experienced director, I will use specific language. I will run the conversation in one way. If I'm talking with an emerging director, it's not that I feel better or not. I simply will use a different language, and I will not expect him or her to know a lot of things. So I might share some more basic information, and our conversation could be more fruitful for both of us. So it's not a weakness to be at the very first step of your career. Simply do not hide and do not try to make bigger things than they are. That's absolutely fair enough. Be totally honest. So company profile, in case you have producers, notes we were mentioning, be ready to elaborate on what you have said during the pitch. If, for instance, you have been sharing a very personal story and you feel that you feel not comfortable to talk about it because it's too emotional for you, or it's too strong, or it's too intimate, make sure to be aware of what you have said into the pitch, and make sure how much deeper you would like to go when you talk on a more individual consultation. Because if you are tackling a deep story and you are not ready to talk about it, or you don't want to talk about it on a more private level, it's probably better to avoid to mention that this is your story in the pitch. Okay, so try to be consistent on the fact that whenever you tell in the official pitch might be tackled in individual consultation after the pitch. As a filmmaker, you might be requested to show or to go deeper in your visual approach, which actually means not to really give all detailed information on how you plan to put on screen your film, but it's actually the approach, which is your personal touch from the director's point of view to this project. So the universe that you are actually aiming to present, how should be this done. Some mood board, some people might, if you have promised into the pitching that you have more material to share, that you have something ready, so be prepared in this sense to share it with you. Teaser also, if you promise the teaser in the pitching session, and priority list, which actually means to make sure what you are basically looking for, what you would like to get from the presentation in a very first place. So which are your primary needs, what you are looking for, which is your priority in this sense. I just saw now a question. Just give him a second. What if I was an independent person who wants to make a script but not sure enough with the risk? Well, in this case, the point is to structure a very rough storyline, or what you would like to go deeper, but also, even if you have a clear idea, more detailed story in your head, try to make sure to prepare some written material or the presentation of your pitch simply with the main storyline, with the main elements. Telling people, sharing with people the fact that you have a more clear idea in your mind, but you are a scriptwriter or you are a filmmaker, and you need some input to go deeper in that. But already from your story, you might be able to understand if you plan this as a short film, as a genre short film, if you feel this might run 10 minutes or 25 minutes or 40 minutes. These are also the main information that you can share with the audience. Because, sometimes people are actually pitching and presenting short, long feature films. Then you listen to the story and you say, okay, are you sure that this is actually capable to keep 1 hour and a half of attention? Do you manage actually to stretch this in a long feature films? Because sometimes this is unbalanced. The story seems a perfect story for a short film, but the director or the scriptwriter, they say, no, this is a long feature film. So we might have a problem. I really need to understand better, in this case, how to elaborate. In any case, yes, in this sense, you can you can simply tell the story, but sharing, those are a few information, the genre, the length that you have in mind. Keep in mind that every time that you pitch your story, the people know that you are in development. So nobody expects the final answer. You are opening question pitching your story, okay? So if this is a short film now, at the end of the development of 10 minutes, at the end of the development, you can actually come up with a 30 minutes short film. That's fair enough. That is what development is done for, to develop your story, talk with people, try to insert your story in international or even industrial context and figure out how this grows. So that's totally fine. I'm reading another question. Filmmakers with more experience might have halo effect. The question is, as a newcomer in the industry, how is it possible to avoid or deal with the fact that some other people are actually more experienced? My suggestion is tell immediately your level of experiences. I'm telling you because, for instance, for my Venice Film Festival session, we only accept debut director film. So I'm basically, when it comes to Venice, I'm not interested in experienced professionals. Because simply they cannot access my session. So I'm actually aiming for only not experienced people. That's what I really mean. So the only suggestion is tell the truth, because actually, if you are experienced director, my expectations are higher. If you are an experienced director coming to me with a very strong story, with no producers attached, I feel this project very weak, because you are an experienced director. So you need to know, you have to know that you need to come actually with the producer on board if you are pitching your story, okay? So it's a question also of expectation. So don't worry, don't be worried about the fact. When you mention that this is your very first experience, that's fair enough. People will know why you have no producer attached, or that this is the moment in which you are actually looking for a potential producer. I will continue with my presentation. I see there's more questions are coming, but we have a specific space dedicated, so all your questions will be answered. So thank you. I would like to do a small focus on the synopsis, okay? So what shall you include in the synopsis? That ideally you will present, how you will present the story of your film during the pitch, sorry. Make sure to be clear and short, okay? Avoid too many details. People will actually not have the time to really elaborate and digest too many names, too many midpoints or connection, too many changes. Go for the main storyline. Go for the main conflict of the story and make sure to explain the full summary of the plot. You have to introduce the main characters, okay? You only need to mention them at the very beginning, and just the main ones, 2, 3 maximum. Even if your film is a choral film, we know that all the people are important, but actually make sure to name and to explain the 2, 3 main characters that will help the people to do not go lost, basically. That's the point. Try to share the emotional hook that could generate interest in the audience. So highlights within the story, the unique selling points, what is really making this story, not only this project, this story interested. And please don't be afraid to tell the end. Don't forget that when you're pitching, you're actually in an international professional contest, even national, but you are in a professional contest. So the change of your film could actually modify the genre of your film. It has a strong link from the production point of view, because it could actually bring people to think on a different source of financing, different countries, or a different potential co-producer. So it's, of course, I understand that sometimes you don't want to share the ending because it's very, you don't want to unveil the ending, but don't forget then when you are asking to potential people to actually get on board of this project, you really need to make sure that they have all information that they need, including the end. What should you not include in the synopsis? Avoid any comments. You will have time later to do each comment, to explain your feeling, your emotion. The synopsis should really be the story, the plot of your film. Okay. Most of the time, you will be asked to pitch in English if you are in an international contest. So in a language that it's not our own language, our own first language. So try to avoid sentences too long, too complicated, or that are actually translated from a more narrative form, okay? Don't worry too much about the level of English. Some mistakes might happen to anybody, no worries, that's not a problem, as long as people can really get into it and you are capable to communicate. So don't curate too much the sentence if you are not capable to express that sentence in a very clear way, talking in a verbal way, okay? You have a short amount of time and words, avoid any repetition. No need to tell again one thing when you have just a few minutes to express, to talk about your story, okay? And my suggestion is, again, don't use verbs or expression of feelings, because you will have the notes to do that. You will have time later when you talk about yourself to express how you feel and how you think that the audience should react and so on. So try to avoid in the synopsis feelings or emotions. That's not the right moment. To wrap, when it comes to synopsis, keep it simple. Try to make it engaging for the audience, which also means, again, not reading something, simply telling the story. Try to be concise and don't mention all your characters. You know, sometimes I know that you have the urgency to tell everything, but, you know, sometimes it's really too much and people cannot get it. Okay. To help you a little bit more to build a synopsis, because when you tell the story in a pitch, that's actually the most important moment, okay? So that's why I'm really going around in this. I really would like to have a specific focus on it, because I feel that hopefully this will help you to build the storyline in a pitch in the best way possible. So I have prepared you some questions that you might ask when you structure a synopsis. Did you mention the main character or characters? Did you mention what happens to them? Did you clearly mention which is the most important moment of the story and what the characters do to face some obstacles? Did you insert the end of the story? And are you make sure it's clear which are the changes, the psychological changes that that happened at the end of the story? So around this, I hope this will somehow help you to go deeper, to present in the best way possible, you know, the story of your film. A short focus on note of intent. Okay, what to say? Basically, your main motivation and intention. In your note, you are telling people about yourself, not through your professional's profile, not your CV, but actually to your connection with the story. And here, guys, it doesn't matter if you are only scriptwriter, only director, or you are a filmmaker, or you are a producer. People that are listening, they really need to know, and they are actually, from the human point of view, interested in understanding you, who you are, a little bit better. Your main intention, the point of view in which you would like to analyze and tell the story. Sometimes it would be very good to let people know how you discover this story. Is this your story? Did you read it on a newspaper? And for any reason you felt the urgency to tell this story? Feel free to share it, because people might ask, how did you come to know this story and where this idea comes from? The context, if this is an actual event, is this is based by a real story or people that are really existing, or this is based on a book or on any kind of novel, any kind of comic, people that or other show that you might have in mind. And if you are a team, if you are pitching as a director and producers, that will be very important to mention your connection with the director or the producers. Have you already worked together, or is this the first time that you are working together? One of you is more or less experienced from the other. Feel absolutely free to share this information in the most honest way, because people actually will ask you this. If they have to work with you, they will really need to understand this kind of personal thing. So if you add a few words of these elements in your presentation, this will make more effective the presentation and will help people to build their knowledge on your story, but also on yourself. So at the end of the day, to build the knowledge on your project. A short recap on how to prepare your pitch. Okay, when it comes to the synopsis, making sure to highlight in a very precise way who and what, who are the characters and what they do. This is a summary you have seen in a slide earlier, the more detailed information, but just make sure that the story exists for itself. The synopsis is the story of your film, not your project, okay? The director's note should explain why and how she or he intends to direct this film. Why, which is the personal connection, and how, which is the general visual approach that she or he feel it will use during the film, during the short film. During the pitch, the producers will explain when and where. So the producer should be the one to give some more information on when you plan to apply to any funding, when you plan to finish or to shoot your film, and where you would like to go to shoot, for instance, if it's a foreign country, where you aim to have this film released. In any case, she or he should be sharing, different information. The main concept is make sure that in your 5-7 minutes of pitch, you deliver different kind of information. The main point is no repetition in this. How to pitch. Let's enter immediately. Now I feel that, and I hope that was useful for you, you have the background. If you analyze all the elements that we have been tackling, you basically have the overview of how to do your pitch. So you simply need now to pick up, as a cherries, more information and build your own presentation. There is no right way to do a pitch. The best way possible is your own way. Your own way also means that this should be consistent with your human side. Some of us are more shy, some of us are more open and kind of very good storytellers. We might practice, of course, but it's absolutely important to make sure to be consistent on what you are. Avoid any show off, because people will not trust, to be honest. Again, this is not a show. People will not vote the best pitch. They will need to decide if they want to work with you or not. So it might be nice to have a performance if you feel comfortable in that shoes, but if not, don't force yourself. Be yourself on stage, be yourself when you talk with people, because in any case, you are selling yourself. So ideally, one person could not feel the connection with you in that specific project, but might feel that it would be good to talk with you maybe for future projects. So every time that you are pitching, you are somehow selling yourself as well. Be objective, okay? You need to know which are your weak points before everybody else. I'm repeating myself now, but when you pitch your project, you need to raise questions, not give all answers. Don't be close, because you will pitch the project when you are in development. Otherwise, you will not need to pitch it. You will simply send out the film. If you pitch a film, if you pitch a project, it means that you need help. And that's the point. You need feedbacks, you need partners, you need money, you need help, basically, okay? And you really need to know which are your weak points, because there is the place where other people, the professionals who are listening, can really help. Telling you, if you mention that you have a script, but you feel the script is not strong enough, people will know that they need some help. So if me as a producer, if I know that I have a very good team of script consultants, I can raise my hand and say, okay, let's have a talk, because I can help you. And I also see from the producer's point of view, my space. I know that I might have creative inputs, might make this project stronger, and might enter into a potential co-production, okay? So make sure to know your weaknesses and to put at the end what you're looking for, so where you need help. Even if there are no rules, there is one must: prepare, be prepared, don't improvise, because even if you are experienced, you always need to analyze what you have in front of you, to make sure that people who are listening are actually the right person to receive that kind of description, explanation, and information. So dedicate some time to prepare the pitch, because it's very important. It's what really will make the difference in the moment in which you will stop pitching. And the people will remember you in a good way if they really understand what was said on stage. Even not everything, because they might not be interested in distribution elements if they are not covering that part, but still will understand that you have a full and general overview of the situation. What to expect from the audience? You need to know that the audience actually can keep 5 or 4 minutes of attention. If you go more than that, that's gonna be complicated for them. You might lose their attention, okay? So make sure to focus the most delicate things in this 4 or 5 minutes of presentation. Keep it simple and straightforward. You will have time to elaborate later in a potential individual consultation. And what you need to expect from the audience is to raise some questions, sometimes after the pitch, sometimes in the individual consultation, okay? What the audience expect from you to know who you are, to know what we will see, okay? Because despite the description of the story, we are talking about films. We are talking about audio-visual projects, audio-visual elements. So that's what we will really need to figure out through your words, what we will see on screen. The audience expect from you to understand that the basic information and the context and what is unique, including the titles. Okay, be careful, because sometimes it happens very often that people tend to forget to tell the titles because somebody else maybe presented. It's always good to hear the titles. Okay, so when you pitch, the question that you need to ask is, or to basically answer is, why now? Because this is the right moment to pitch your story. Why me? Why you are the right person to direct or produce or write this story? Who has already said yes? Do you remember at the beginning of my presentation? In the markets, and when you pitch your story, it's always good to say that you have somebody already on board. What are you looking for? Where do you need help? Because actually this is heavily related with my last question. Where is my space? Where is as a potential partner? What can I do basically to help you to produce this project? Okay, if I have a very clear idea or which are your weak points or what are you looking for, I can find some way to enter in that space. So to do a good pitch, you basically need to tell a good story, okay? Make sure to do a good start, because the pitch is, the highest attention, you have it in the first 1 minute, because people need to, enter into your mind and try to get connection with you. So try to surprise, wake up the listeners with the most important elements. Make sure to wrap in a good way, because people will also remember the ending or of your story, of your presentation. So if you close with some sentence or some information very unique, that could be easy to remember for the people. And in the middle, develop your story. Make sure to be brief, to be focused, and of course to share the elements with your partners. If you are pitching with, for instance, it's a pitch is done by producers and director. Now you have ideally all the elements to pitch your story. There are no schemes. I'm sorry to say that every time that you pitch your film, you actually tell a story in a different way. I see Clara that has raised her hand, probably is to tell that we are running out of time. Clara, the floor is yours.
Okay, Alessandra, this time is over. Now is a Q&A time.
Yes, before the Q&A, if you don't mind, I really want to take 30 seconds just to give you two schemes. Sorry, Clara, two schemes on how to prepare the pitch. If you are doing a creative pitch, which is probably the case in this sense, this is the potential scheme that you can follow. Talk about yourself, talk about your link to the project, why this story, then continue with title and short synopsis. Give some information on how do you intend to tell the story. Mention very clearly which is the status of your project. Mention very clearly at which status are you? What do you have already? Script, treatment or not? In case you have some partners or board or not. And close with what you are looking for. Okay, close with your offer. What people can do for you? What do you have? You have exposed them. What do you have to offer? And now open the dialogue, and whoever is interested can get on board. So this is a very short scheme of how to present your pitch. I thank you very much. Before opening the Q&A session, you have here all my contacts. According to the program that I'm following now, in case you would like to get in touch with me, you have here the main information. So Clara, I'm not sure if you would like to take again the floor, or I will leave this slide and I can read the question that we have.
Okay, thank you, Alessandra, for your presentation. Now it's a Q&A time. The first question from Gali. The question is it wise to include all the production aspect in a pitch deck subsession before the actual pitching itself, or it is better to focus on the ongoing idea of the film itself? Since, if I'm not mistaken, some programs prompt us to send the brief pitch first. Alessandra, kindly answer this question.
Thank you, Clara. That's a very important question, and my suggestion is yes. The written material, the pitch deck, most of the time will be requested to be sent in advance. You have a little bit more space, so for sure you can develop more information, and it's actually the right time to give some more detailed information, but be very careful, because while in a pitch you can lead the conversation. Basically, you can somehow decide in which direction to go. When it comes to written material, you will not be there to defend your material. Okay, so you really need to make sure to make sure that what you're writing is the best thing that you have at the specific moment, and that is very clear. So it's very good to include production elements, a rough idea of the budget, in case it's request a very rough summary budget, so the main elements, because people might need to understand if below the line or above the line, which are basically the elements of below or above the line. That's important to share. But if you are not sure about it, less is more in this sense. So include it, because this will give people the overview of things that you are thinking, also from the production point of view, But if you are not a producer, be careful to do not be too detailed, because people in this sense will notice the imbalancement between you being too detailed in the production part, but also be only a director without looking for a potential producer. So put it absolutely, but make sure to balance the right element.
Hey, Alessandra, thank you for your answer. The next question, you may choose which question you want to answer first.
Sorry, can you repeat, Clara, the question?
Yes. For next question, you may choose which question you want to answer first.
Okay. Sorry. I will follow the order probably. I see Compass, Adi. I will follow the order. Adi is asking how to submit story idea to a local festival that needs a portfolio. Do I have to get the producers first? Let's say that the ideal situation would be always to have a producers, because this means that you are already positioning yourself as a professional and you are making sure to let people know that you are aware that cinema is an industry and you can't do everything yourself. But when it comes to local festivals, sometimes it really depends from the identity of the festival itself. Sometimes, you are simply requested to submit ideas because the audience is done by producers. So in this sense, your portfolio will be your previous experience in terms of other short film, in terms of previous project developed, or if you're still developing other projects, also in terms of your career that is kind of parallel. Let's say that you have been a screenwriter or script doctor on somebody else's project, and now you would like to start to test yourself as a director. All these elements can actually be used, in a presentation. So if you have a producer, that's the best case scenario. If you have not, it would be good to give a brief description of your ideal situation from the production point of view. You would like to have on board, for instance, an emerging producers because you are an emerging filmmakers. Sometimes this could be a very good tips to make sure that both producers and the director are at the same level, even both emerging, because if it is unbalanced, that might, be complicated, even human situation and so on. So if you don't have a producers, try to show or analyze the profile of the person that you would like to have on board as a potential producer. I hope I answered the question. Clara, you tell me if I can go on with the questions.
Yeah, Alessandra, go on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm reading the next question. If I want to create a film that is close to personal life of everyday life, where can I usually pitch my idea? For example, aside from pitching to NGOs, and when they ask, what are the benefits to this project for us? What can we typically offer or promise them? The most international stories are actually the most local ones. Give me something that I don't know and that I can't recognize. That's what I am actually looking for. What does that mean? That what do you have and is unique from other international contests is something very local, and that helps me to understand a precise identity. As an audience, and I'm now talking as a general audience and professional audience, I don't want to recognize character. I want to know new characters. I really want to make sure that all the characters that are acting and moving in your project are real. I want to feel the real connection. I might have some similar emotion. I might see myself or part of my life and my human needs in the characters on screen, but I don't want, a bidimensional character. So I really want to go deeper. I really want to know some character that I can know for the very first time, and not the same characters that I've seen in dozens of other film. So even in personal life, on the everyday life, you have something that I don't know. that's what you need to share on screen. It's difficult because it's what makes the film unique. I understand that, but actually go over the storyline itself and go deeper into the character, because there are the main elements. What is this film about? It's a relationship between a father and a son. It's a friendship. It's what is this, despite the main elements. The rest is a context that I need to know, because you will shape them in the best way possible. Okay. Keep in mind that there are several also international situations that are actually looking for new stories or new voices. My suggestion is try to figure out, try to read others people project. Okay, the very the most important and interesting way to understand what is working is actually to study some events storylines. So your national events, try to get the catalog of the project that have been pitched there. Try, to work on, to figure out what they are exposing in the past years, because you will really have already a good overview of what is working and which kind of project actually have been considered interesting from the people who have selected this project. Next question is, when pitching, is it okay to use cue cards to help us deliver our presentation more smoothly? My suggestion is keep the attention on you. If you have some slides that, and you have 5-7 minutes, some slides that people need to read, they will keep their eyes out of you. And this is not always good, in the sense that ideally you need to be very clear. You need to give something, to share something also on the emotional level when you talk about your own story. So the pitch is to know you first of all, and then deeper your story. So my suggestion is either you prepare only one slide with a very good visual, so one picture, 1 or 2 pictures that you can show that give the mood of your film, or you prepare a teaser or a mood board, so some audio-visual, very short video that you can show either during your pitch or at the very end. So you can talk, then you stop, you show the teaser, maybe after you mention the story, you show the teaser, people will be back on you and you will wrap your presentation, because overlapping the two things is always risky and for sure will make people lose the attention. In an international contest, usually it's not possible to show some slides. You might have the very first one with one image, one picture, and you can insert visuals material in the sense of a short video. And Nadia Joan is closing with grazie mille, thank you. I would like to ask, from your experience of hearing film pitches, what would be the strong start to get the other parties hooked to listen to your pitch? There is no general way to do that. It really depends. If you are talking about something, your story, my suggestion is tell immediately to the people that this is your story, on that there is a human connection with your story. If you have a very powerful story, tell immediately the logline, okay? Tell immediately what will be the story about, in a nutshell, in one sentence that could make people say, wow, this is interesting. If this is a very specific genre, for instance, tell immediately that you are going to present a horror film, horror gothic film. So people will start, when they hear, will start to position your project already in a kind of box in their professional head. So there's no one way to do that. My suggestion is always start from yourself, mention who are you, your name, your position within the film, if you are the director and or the scriptwriter. So make sure to let people know who are they listening to, because they might have the catalog in front of them, but don't give it for granted that they have read it or they remember it. So mention who are you, introduce yourself, and then say the very first thing that could be catchy. If you see your story, go for that. If you have a strong storyline, just a log line of what is important. If you have one strong element, for instance, if you have a very difficult title to understand, and this is a metaphor or something, mention immediately what is the film about. Try to identify which is a very key element of it. And grazie mille to you too. Okay, Adi.
Alessandra, sorry, the time is over.
Sorry,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, it's okay.
I just want to add that you have my contacts, and if it's okay for you, I can share it again the last moment, because if you have more questions, I will be happy to. Well, if you are selected, the other people, I still have 3 questions. If the other people will be with me tomorrow for the individual session, I will be happy to answer this question. Otherwise, these are my contacts. Get in touch. I will be happy to answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Alessandra. And thank you to everyone who asked questions. This concludes the Q&A session for today. Apologies, everyone. It seems we are almost of the time for today's workshop. Thank you for your participation, all your questions, and all your enthusiasm in today's workshop. Before we end this workshop, I would like to remind the selected participants who will join tomorrow's workshop that it will start at 2 p.m. Western Indonesian time. We will email you the Zoom link today. Before we next, Alessandra, please turn off your camera first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. We also want to thank our organizers, European Union, Embassy of Austria, Embassy of Belgium and Wallonie Brussels International, Embassy of Croatia, Embassy of Cyprus, Embassy of Czech Republic, Embassy of Denmark, Embassy of Estonia, Embassy of Finland, Embassy of France and Institut Français Indonésie, Embassy of Germany and Goethe Institute Indonesian, Embassy of Greece, Embassy of Hungary, Embassy of Ireland, Embassy of Italy and Istituto Italiano di Cultura, Embassy of Lithuania, Embassy of Netherlands and Erasmus Huygens, Embassy of Poland, Embassy of Portugal and Camões Institute, Embassy of Romania, Embassy of Slovakia, Embassy of Spain, Embassy of Sweden and Team Sweden, Embassy of Armenia, British Council, Embassy of Georgia, Embassy of Norway, Embassy of Switzerland, Embassy of Ukraine, and our implementing organizers Bhinneka Cipta Setara, our festival partners 100% Manusia Film Festival, Alliance Frances Denpasar, Alliance Frances Medan, Cine Europa, Jakpro, Kawasan Ekonomi Khusus Singasari Malang, Kemala Home Living, Kementerian Pendidikan, Kebudayaan, Riset, dan Teknologi, Kine Forum, Lokanima, Malang Creative Center, MES Denpasar, Mini Teater Museum Negeri Sumatera Utara, Moxie Notion, Rumah Budaya Malik Ibrahim Sidoarjo, SAE Indonesia, Skoda Transportation, SMKN 4 Surabaya, Studio Film Movie Resto Prime Indonesia Manu Project, Sumarekon Mall Bekasi, Taman Ismail Marzuki, Visinema Pictures, Wisma Jerman Surabaya, as well as our media partners, Binus TV, Cinecrip, Cinemax, Cinemalinea, Cineverse ID, Femina, Flix Magazine, Gadis, Geometri, Habis Nonton Film, Info Screening, Jakarta Post, Kapan Lagi, Kincir, Liputan 6, Movie Goers, Now Jakarta, OKL Street Library, Watchman ID, Lastly, don't forget that Europe On Screen Film Festival will take place from June 7 until 16, where you can enjoy and watch our offline festival screening at various locations including Jakarta, Bandung, Denpasar, Malang, Medan, Sidoarjo, Surabaya, and Yogyakarta. For more detailed information, please visit our official website. Thank you again for participating in our workshop. See you at our festival from June 7 until 16 offline in 8 cities in Indonesia.
Вони нанесли бомбовий удар.
ყოველთვის ვიცოდი, რომ შენ იყავი ჩემო მოსწრელი და გადამრჩენელი.
Dimmi ragazzo solo dove vai, perché tanto dolore hai perduto senza dubbio un grande amore.
The Jakarta Post, more than 39 years of presence with independent journalists. With comprehensive from political and business conversation in all platform. And the global discussion that you can follow from the top experts. Download the mobile app on Google Play Store and App Store. Or you can access it at thejakartapost.com. Join and subscribe now.
A proposito, cercavo proprio a lei.